Franchise. It's the franchise. That's the name of the show, gang. It's a Monday night. The stars are no longer out. The Oscars happened. Stay tuned to that Patreon for more on that. But this is episode probably like 142 or something.
Bingo.
Nice. And I'm your host, Daniel Ehrenberg.
I'm your co-host over here on the Discovery, Henry Papali.
Very nice.
For episode 142,001.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. 2001, A Space Odyssey. We're talking about it today, and I'd like to thank Josh Merlis, a.k.a. Delicious Cheese, a.k.a. Legal Cum Dams, for for paying us the $100 tier, Henry.
Yeah, man.
We have a $100 tier on the Patreon. Pay us $100. We'll cover anything you fucking want. And this week we're doing the first one of those. We have two on another one on deck. And so,
that's right.
Yeah. So this is 2001: A Space Odyssey, and 2010, the year we write unwieldy titles. And
yeah.
But let's start with 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, Henry, of course, it's long been established on the show that Stanley Kubrick is kind of the only filmmaker that you care about.
Yeah, right. No.
Like, we're going to be counting down his movies, and this is basically just going to be a ranking of your favorite movies of all time.
At least 8 of them, yes.
Yeah. Do you have another movie that's not Kubrick that would be in your top 5 movies of all time?
Absolutely.
What is it?
Several. Yeah. No. Apocalypse Now.
Right. I forgot about that. You do love that movie.
Yes. Jaws.
Jaws is in your top 5?
Sure. Especially after we covered it, you know.
You there are not 5 Kubrick movies you like more than Jaws?
Well,
yeah.
You know what?
See?
You know what it is? It's if it's desert island stuff, would I want to be stuck with 5 movies by the same director?
Henry,
you know?
I don't believe anyone brought up the idea of you hanging out on a desert island with a stack of DVDs.
Yeah, I mean, I all right. In all honesty, I'd say if I had a top 5 movies of all time, there would be 2. Yeah.
Okay, there would be 2 non-Kubricks or 2 Kubricks?
Probably 2 Kubricks, if I was honest with myself, because when we rank them tonight, you know, there are a couple of his movies that are my favorite films of all time, but I'm just not as close to as I used to be, but they don't lose any, you know, affection. But you know, that's really hard. I mean, maybe in the future, on some Patreon episode, we will do maybe a comprehensive ranking of our favorite movies of all time.
Please don't make us do that.
I
don't want to do that.
Why not?
It's ridiculous. I've said my top 3 on this show. That's enough.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that's that's a lot of critics. Tons of all of them have some kind of top 10. You know. I mean, that's a tough...
of all time. I feel like I don't see that list from critics.
Oh yes, are you kidding, dude?
It's always institutions. It's the AFI, or Empire Magazine, or Roger Ebert with his stupid great movies thing.
But Roger Ebert and people like Andrew Sarris, Pauline Kael. You know, a lot of those people. Maybe not Pauline Kael. She wasn't so absolute.
Yeah, she's not a ranker. She didn't even grade her shit.
But like there's several who have just what they consider to be the top 10 movies. And even for shits and giggles, you know, I know Scorsese has a top 10, which is really entertaining to look at.
I know. I've seen Tarantino do that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to do. It'd be very difficult. But, I mean, look, Stanley Kubrick's my favorite filmmaker of all time. I mean, it's a different, you know, that you know what it's an equivalent to, and then we'll move on. It would be like Beethoven is
we're
my
not
favorite.
moving on, Henry. This is the show.
Okay.
Listen,
Okay.
clear. If somebody paid us $100
Yeah.
to cover a Stanley Kubrick movie,
Yeah.
they know. Listen, he listens to the show. He
Yeah.
knows your feelings on this fucking guy.
Right.
He wants you to be an asshole about it. He wants you to talk about this bearded Bolshevik.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would equate it to saying, like, my favorite author is Philip Roth. My favorite composer is Beethoven. Are my top 5 favorite pieces of music ever written all Beethoven? Are my top 5 favorite books of all time Philip Roth? I could easily say no in both those cases. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't know that you can in movies, though.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question. So that's yeah. Like, that would not happen with those other two art forms. I would be hard pressed to rank 5 Philip Roth books of fiction over, 4 other great fiction books or nonfiction books. That's just not going to happen. So,
but there's something about film. I feel like if a filmmaker has an aesthetic that appeals to you, you're just going to be in it for the long haul with this guy. I realized that watching The Favorite this year is like, I think me and Yorgos Lanthimos are just fucking hanging hard. Like,
right.
that guy gets me.
Yeah, I understand that. That's how I have felt with Kubrick since I was 15 or 16. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's why I think I felt like the similar kinship, because I find him to be very Kubrickian, David Fincher, Do
you?
Yeah,
Fincher does things that Kubrick... Fincher makes choices that Kubrick would never make.
Yes, but I find a similarity in their sort of existentialism view of humanity. A lot of the lighting choices, a lot of the pacing of their films, very deliberate. I find that to
pacing
be...
and lighting, I can see. I more mean their subject
also,
matters and source material.
Sure, well, sure. But also, like, their usage, which was instrumental in me falling in love with Kubrick's movies, is the usage of music is generally pretty masterful.
Here's the thing. I hadn't watched 2001 in a while. I remember that they used the Ric Flair's entrance music.
Rick Strauss,
Zarathustra. Yeah. I remembered that, but I didn't remember like the whole score is classical music. And so then I'm watching this movie, and all I'm thinking is like, oh my God, I have to like have a 2-hour conversation with Henry about Stanley Kubrick and classical music now.
I'm so sorry. I won't do that to you.
It just sounded exhausting in my head.
I would never do that to you. Well, on that interesting topic,
you a fan of Ric Flair?
He was WCW when I was a kid, so no.
Yeah, right. That's true. You were out of wrestling by the time he moved over to the WWF.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that didn't count. That was the diet, low-rent version of that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Didn't, yeah.
Yeah, but now he's got his daughter, Charlotte Flair, and she comes out to sort of like, it's a version of Zarathustra, but with some...
Sure. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Very nice. I like it. Yeah, like Atticus Ross got a hold of it or something. Yeah.
No, not even, man. More like the Venga Boys. Eiffel 65.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like if I want to give the money's worth here for my opinion, it might help more if you ask me questions about him.
Why don't we just do the ranking?
Okay.
That will lead to things.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we ranked every Kubrick movie. Now, he has made 13 movies.
Right.
I have seen 11 of them.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yep.
How have you not bothered? I bet you it's the same fucking 2. Those early ones.
Yeah.
Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss, right?
That's right.
How have you never taken the time to watch those?
Probably for the same reason that I view a lot of other of my heroes, my favorite artists, where if they start out with something that and this is just my take, it's totally shut downable.
Standing by to shut down. Go on.
Say again.
I said standing by to shut down.
Yes, right. Thank you, Hal. Mm-hmm. Yes. If it is something that is clearly something they disregarded and didn't pay any credence to, and then subsequently went on a path that was just sort of a finding their footing, sort of masterpiece after masterpiece, I stick with that and I go with that. So like
I'm the opposite, Henry.
Right.
I will watch any piece of shit, even if they've disowned it. I will search through the archives if I'm a fan of somebody. And I know that the fella, listen, you know, all cards on the table, Josh Merlis is a guy I know in real life.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, you did. You met him once.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he when we went to high school together. He was really into the band Korn, Henry.
Okay.
All right. You can make fun of it. Don't worry. And
I don't make fun of people who pay $100 for me to speak.
That's fair. That's fair. But I remember Josh. He had this record by this band LAPD, and it was like 3 of the guys from Korn, and I don't even think the lead singer was one of them. And they were in like, I guess like pre-Korn in like the 80s. They were in like a funk rock band.
yeah.
And he had that record, and I'm of that same school, man. I'll go check out like your early shitty work.
Well, you're right. I mean, it depends on what the medium is, I guess. Like, I didn't start with Philip Roth's first novel, but I felt compelled to read every book he ever wrote. So I went back to the books that he didn't necessarily like or rank well. But like maybe a better example for me is like, I actually, on the way to work this morning, I heard a symphony by Mozart and the DJ comes on afterwards and she goes, and that was Mozart's symphony number whatever. He wrote it when he was 16 years old, and I'm out.
Right.
I'm
not me, man. Like
interested.
You know Bright Eyes. I'm a fan of Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
I have a record that dude put, like, it's demos that he recorded on like a 4-track in his parents' basement when he was 15. I have that on CD. But
I also think that it's different with like popular music, because like you give me a pre Malcolm Young AC/DC recording, of which there aren't basically any, I'll listen to that in a heartbeat.
But what about film, man? Because to me, a lot of my favorite filmmakers, like, the more full their movies got, the less interested I became.
That can happen, but for me, Kubrick had a turning point that was so clear that I couldn't look back in terms of what really, it's strange. I don't know how to explain it. I would absolutely watch Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss. I'm one of those guys, and I thought about this to sum up my feelings on a lot of this. I was thinking about how the rewatchability stuff we talk about a lot, and how I do that way more than you, and to a fault, and I think it's because when I get into something, I would rather, I've always, it's not really a choice, it's just the way I am. I think you know this about me. I'd rather know a hell of a lot about 10 things than a little bit about 40. So
I feel that way in terms of my life. Like, clearly, like, I've devoted my life to, film and television, and I want to know everything about those mediums.
Sure.
But in terms of the breadth of knowledge I want to have on those particular subjects, I do want it to be wide. I don't want to just watch the same shit over and over again.
Right. I get it. I mean, and that
seems like I have a narrow view on a narrow thing.
Right. I guess, like, for me, like, with like, I've read so many books about, Bobby Kennedy, right? When I could have read one book on Bobby Kennedy and then read about 500 other politicians, but I get into something and I want to know like everything about that subject. So that's, I guess, in a certain way, that's why when I was younger, especially when I got into Kubrick, I read and devoured everything I could about a few of his movies. And, if you look at my book collection, it's got, a lot of Kubrick books, a lot of Herbert von Karajan books, a lot of stuff like that. And I just get into like something like that and it's hard to pull me out. But it doesn't mean that I'm narrow, because I think I have a pretty big, wide berth, especially when it comes to
cock
film.
size. Oh,
well, we discussed that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
All
Tiny
right.
versus large. Yeah. But
Henry,
anyway.
can
Yeah.
we do this? We're
Yeah.
going to rank the Kubrick movies, and we get to start at the same time for fucking once.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
All right. I think you're not going to like my list, but we'll see how it goes.
I got to tell you, I have to tell you, of all the lists we've done, and I suppose it's because he's my favorite, and we've definitely talked about Kubrick privately many over the years, but I was most anticipating this list of yours than anyone so far.
Well, I'm excited to share it with you.
Yeah, because I really don't know what to expect. And it was a very, very hard list for me, needless to say.
Easy peasy.
Really?
Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. What's your you want to start or should
I? You can start.
All right, number 11, worst of the Kubrick movies I've seen, and I totally like this movie. Honestly,
Right, yeah.
he doesn't have one below a 4 for me.
He's got, yeah, I disagree. Go ahead.
My number 11 is Lolita.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to put that so low because, it's about like a young, sexy chick. But it's not that great. And,
No,
the
it's
book's
not.
better and, his vision was compromised or what have you.
Right.
What's
right.
your number 11?
Spartacus.
Spartacus. Okay, that's my number 10.
And Lolita is my number 10.
All right. Well, hey, we're all right so far.
Yeah, Spartacus I could just never get into. I
It's
know.
just the subject matter. I'm the same way. Like, I feel like Spartacus is totally great. I just kind of don't care that much.
Well, and I think for me, it doesn't particularly feel like a Kubrick movie, and it's obvious. With honestly, to be honest, I came to Spartacus way after I had already gotten into him, and it was obvious without reading a single anecdote that he was interfered with on that movie a lot.
Spartacus was one of the first Kubrick movies I saw, to the point where I don't even know that when I watched it the first time it mattered that much to me who directed it.
Yeah.
But it is odd to go back and watch it now on that level, because it does seem a part of from it seems to veer from what his normal stuff is. But
right.
Whatever, it's good. Kirk Douglas rules.
And so for Lolita, really quick, for me, I've never been a big Peter Sellers fan, and Lolita, it's such a staid movie. It's just I would watch it again. I think I've only seen it the one time.
It could use some more fucking, to be honest. I'll watch that fucking Jeremy Irons version till the cows come home.
That's I've heard that I didn't see that.
I like that movie.
I heard that it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not joking.
Yeah, that's Adrian Lyne, is it not?
I have no idea, But Lolita. Just my recommendation is, if you start it and you're bored, just watch Poison Ivy instead.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Or Embrace of the Vampire.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so our lowest two are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So,
all right, now here's where we differ. My number 9 Stanley Kubrick movie, Henry, is Eyes Wide Shut.
I sort of figured that'd be low.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know you like it, but on this tough list, well, you said it's easy.
It's minor Kubrick. I mean, I love but it seems like a filmmaker making a movie about something he doesn't really know a lot about. I think at times Cruise is out of his element. I think I don't know, man. To me, like Kubrick making Eyes Wide Shut, it would be like if Woody Allen made a movie about black people.
I don't agree with that at all.
It wouldn't be that bad, I guess.
I think human sexuality's been a theme in his movies.
Yeah, I know sexuality, but like an outsider's view of sexuality. This is like the BDSM scene and like fetishism. I feel like Kubrick like doesn't use that little pecker of his.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't think that's accurate, but okay.
How much fucking was Stanley Kubrick doing? I know he had 3 wives. I will say that.
You damn right he did, and he married the one from Paths of Glory. So there you go.
All right.
We'll get there because I want to mention Eyes Wide Shut too. My number 9, and these are all out of the park anyway. So my number 9 is The Killing.
Yeah. See, now I watched that recently.
I would like a rewatch, but I've seen it a couple of times.
And I feel like maybe that would be lower on the list, but I was really impressed with this latest rewatch.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I popped it up from a 4 to a 5.
Yeah, really.
Head.
I recalled being a little turned off by the acting and some of the narration and that kind of stuff. And
nah, it's all good. And some of the shots are just fucking gorgeous.
He's getting in there.
And the story is just weaved with a master's edge.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just stringing words together here, gang. It's after 9:30.
That's what I do when it's before 9:30, so it works out fine.
It's true. So that's your number 9?
9.
Okay.
Yeah.
My number 8, Henry, is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Wow, that surprises me. That's pretty low. I thought that would be higher on your list.
Why?
I don't know. For no other reason that I always thought I got the impression you really were in love with that movie. I don't know.
I do love that movie, Henry. These are all great.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
It's not hard. Like, to me, there are levels of great, and that seems like a solid number 8 for me.
All right. My number 8, this was extraordinarily difficult for me, 8, 7, and 6, but I did it. My number 8 is Full Metal Jacket.
That's another one I watched pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. I've always liked that movie.
I love it.
That's way better than 8. I have it a lot higher.
It's an amazing, amazing visionary film.
By the way, I know we're not going to talk about the Oscars till the Patreon,
yes.
But R. Lee Ermey, nowhere to be found on that in memoriam.
Oh,
he got snubbed, motherfucker.
Damn, didn't notice that. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
R.I.P. So my number 7. Did you say your number 8?
Yep, Full Metal Jacket.
Right. My number 7 is The Killing.
Okay. My number 7 is Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay. My number.
I think that movie is incredible. I think it's treated very unfairly. I love the performances.
I've been a New Yorker me whole life.
That's right. And I think it's a mesmerizing movie in every way. And I remember seeing it in the theater, and I was just completely blown away, and with a mixture of sadness, obviously, because I remember when
was he
died.
dead by the time that came out?
Yeah, he died in.
How'd that not do more at the Oscars with Kubrick having died? You'd think he'd get posthumous shit.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. He didn't give a shit about them, so I don't think they gave a shit about him. But yeah, I remember the day he died. I was actually visiting New York City.
It was around now, right?
That's right. It was 1999, 20 years ago, around this month or time. Yeah, that's right. And I got a phone call, because I didn't have a cell phone in 1999, on my message machine from my then girlfriend, and she told me on the message that she heard my guy died, and she was very sorry.
Oh, is that how you got the news?
Yes.
From your lady?
No. That's not how I got the news, but I just remember that incident. I think I got the news just like turning on the TV.
I remember those days, Henry, when like you'd have to like get a call from a friend, like, "Hey, that guy died." Like now you just get like a push notification, like E News will like text you, like, "Hey, John Hughes is dead."
There's something that's kind of sad about that. It was kind of nice that people had to reach out and you had to could hear.
Brody Stevens, a comedian I really like, killed himself last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I found out because it was trending on Twitter.
That's sad. That's not the way you want to see that. Yeah.
No, it was
like how refreshing would it be if you know one of your friends would have actually like called you and been like, "Hey, did you hear?" You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, sorry, but I know you like that guy. Yeah, that was like I remember being on the way to a Death Cab for Cutie concert, and I'm really showing my like little 90s indie weirdos tripes tonight with my bright eyes and Death Cab for Cutie references. Yeah. But
right.
I remember being on the way to see them play at Webster Hall or something, and I got like a call from a friend telling me Elliott Smith killed himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was huge.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah.
Today you just get a fucking push notification. Fucking
nobody
kids
tells
these
you
days,
anything.
Hank. What are we up to here?
All right, we're giving your number 6.
All right, my number 6 is Paths of Glory.
Whew, yeah, we are really diverging here. My number 6 is The Shining.
Really? That low, huh?
I came to The Shining later than the other ones on my list, and I think that The Shining is probably a better movie than Eyes Wide Shut or Full Metal Jacket, though I do not have the same affection for it. I wanted to go more with...
That's crazy to me because, like, you're such a fucking Jack Nicholson freak. And so, like, to me, like, the...
and I'm a horror movie
The
guy.
awesome collaboration of your favorite actor and your favorite filmmaker should have paid greater dividends for you.
Well, you know, I mean, I think it did over the years. And like I'm saying, I think it's a better film. But I don't know. I was with Full Metal Jacket for a lot longer. I watched that movie ad nauseum, and that might have...
You're way more of a war movie guy than I am.
That's true.
Although I have Full Metal Jacket fucking higher than you, so I don't know what this says about us.
I don't know.
All right, top 5, Hank. Wait, what's your number 6? Did you say?
The Shining, and what was yours?
Paths of Glory.
Right.
The 3-pointers, the touchdowns, the curling when the puck gets close to the circle. These are the heavy hitters of the franchise. Heavy hitters.
Number 5, Barry Lyndon.
Ooh, all right. Okay. My number 5 is Dr. Strangelove.
Full titles, please.
Or How I Stopped to Worry About Bombs.
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
This was a movie that when I first saw it, I did not like. I didn't get it. I didn't think it was funny. I think I was in the wrong headspace. And when I watched it when I was older, I thought it was fucking hilarious and genius. So that one took a while, and I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty great. His 8th best movie. And so my number 4, Henry, is Full Metal Jacket.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
The second half is fucking great. People love to tell you, the
I'm
first
so
half,
glad you said
but
that.
the fucking second half rules.
I totally agree.
It's
and
so
I was gonna,
goddamn tense and weird Republican Adam Baldwin rules. And
I know. I don't really get that either. I think people got so into the hypnotizing manner of the colors and the panning and the long Steadicam shots of the first half in the drill, at the army base, that when we moved to Vietnam,
I think it's just jarring because
it's jarring for too many
people. The first half is such a perfectly constructed little piece of cinema, and then we wrap it up pretty neatly with the death of Arlie Ermey, who is, basically presented as the antagonist of the film.
Right.
And then, we move on to a whole nother shtick.
Well, and we lose Private Pile, Vincent D'Onofrio. So
True. Who's a big
but
deal
you
too.
follow Joker through, and it's fucking genius, And
Maybe the problem with that movie is Matthew Modine. No one wants to follow Matthew Modine for an entire movie.
all right. So my number
4.
or your number, my number 4 is Paths of Glory.
Okay, great stuff.
Yeah, and that for me is his first unqualified masterpiece, 1957, followed with 2 lesser works, and then we get to Strangelove, and it's.
I don't disagree with that.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. That's his first one to me. That's and
is
every
The Killing
time
before that?
Yeah, it was
I
a
think
year
The
before.
Killing is like a near masterpiece, and then Paths of Glory is his first masterpiece.
Yep, that's what I think. Yeah. All right, number 3.
My number 3 is A Clockwork Orange.
Okay. All right. Now, this was nigh impossible for me.
What a year for... never mind. Go ahead.
For Malcolm McDowell?
I was going to say it's the same year as If, but Clockwork Orange is not from 1968. Never mind.
No, it's not.
No.
This was extremely hard for me. Over the last 25 years, I have literally switched these 3 movies around so many times. In fact, when I met you, this was definitely different. But right now, I'm going with this. It could change tomorrow. Number 3.
No, this is definitive. It's on record now.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
This isn't even behind a paywall, Henry.
That's a good... Number 3 is Barry Lyndon.
Okay, my number 3... I said it already. My number 2, Henry...
Yes.
...is The Shining.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Jeez. All right. My number 2 is A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, so Henry, we are both gonna sit here and put the movie we're covering today as our number 1?
Yeah, I guess so.
Interesting. I
2001
thought for
Space
sure
Odyssey.
we'd have different number 1s.
What did you think mine was going to be?
I don't know, maybe Clockwork Orange?
Yeah. I think for the longest time it was...
I know you're a big Barry Lyndon guy, too. You've talked about that movie a lot.
Barry Lyndon was my favorite Kubrick movie and favorite movie of all time for many, many years, I think, including when we became friends.
Wait, if this is your number 1 Kubrick movie, is 2001 A Space Odyssey, are we today covering your favorite movie of all time?
I think that is a very safe thing to say.
Very interesting. I was not prepared for this.
You've never heard me say that?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And right before we get into the movie and all that, I think I owe our listeners and perhaps Josh an explanation as to one of the reasons Kubrick did speak to me so much, because I was able to think about this before the show. In a very certain specific way, Stanley Kubrick altered the trajectory of my life. And what I mean by that is...
much like the monolith altered the trajectory of humanity as a whole.
That's right. He was my monolith. Yeah. Because even though I grew up in a classical music household, when I saw 2001 and A Clockwork Orange as a teenager, they were the first 2 movies of his where I paid attention and knew what, like a director, I was really hooked. I became obsessed with Beethoven and classical music, which then changed what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get into, and changed. I mean, it didn't pan out because my interests also evolved along with myself, but he irrevocably altered the way my life went, because I got so into classical music that I became completely obsessed with it. And that would have never happened had I not watched Stanley Kubrick. So all that you know about me, Dan, about my love and knowledge of classical music, it would not really exist to the point that it does without Stanley Kubrick.
Well, Henry, I think
So there you go.
that you are destined to live a life very similar to that of your idols.
Yes.
I think you will die bearded and bald and thrice divorced at 70 years old.
I would make a joke, but I think that is what's going to happen.
You got to imagine at least the first two.
The bald and bearded.
Yeah.
Thrice divorced. I mean, I don't know.
You got to get started now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much thrice divorced, except I wasn't married to you.
I think you'd be at least twice divorced by now if you had the money to pay for the weddings.
I agree that you're right.
Yeah.
If I was dumb enough to have gotten married.
You didn't have the money of Stanley Kubrick to
That's
waste
right.
upon these relationships.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. Yeah. So anyway, 2001, yes, it's my favorite movie. It's my Once Upon a Time in America.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not my favorite of all time.
Oh, boy, I fucked that up. Really?
Yeah, my favorite is Do the Right Thing.
Oh, right. Okay, yes, it's my Do the Right Thing. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So Stanley Kubrick, he wrote and directed it. He wrote it with a fellow named Arthur C. Clarke, who I guess Kubrick touched base with when he just decided he was going to make a sci-fi movie for his next project. And someone put him in touch with
he
this
was
guy.
recommended to meet this fella and essentially co-wrote the movie with him, but really wrote it himself. I would say, I actually was so into this movie. I read the book 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was written concurrently with the movie. And
I heard it makes
dreadful.
some of the subtext text.
Yeah, and it's dreadful.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I even tried to read not the 2010, the sequel, but for some reason I tried to read he did fucking 3001 and all kinds of shit.
Really?
And,
wait, there are further sequels?
Oh yeah. I think there's 3 sequels to that. Yeah.
I think we should cover them, bro.
Yeah, and he's quite a boring writer. Really boring. I'm also not really into.
Does he continue to follow the political trajectory, but 30 years wrong? Because 2010 is all about the Cold War, baby. And,
it's Reagan.
So what is in 3001? Is we take down Gaddafi?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. We'll get to 2010. There's some fun shit in there, but
I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so it was released April 3rd, 1968.
Yeah.
A budget of $12 million, very high for the time, and box office of $190 million. This was the #1 movie of the year at the box office.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy because it's a really weird movie.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I think at the time, the year was very important. You said it was released in April of that year?
Yeah.
So people were doing a lot of drugs. The country was split in half.
But listen to some of these other movies. I have the top 10 box office of 1968 here. Okay.
Yeah, no, by all means, digress from my extraordinarily salient point.
No, I know what you were saying though. Like people were ready for their minds to be blown and shit.
Vietnam and drugs, and so LSD played a big part in 2001.
Okay, but the #2 movie of the year is Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl.
Yeah,
and
that was for the olds.
Yeah, and the #3 movie of the year is The Love Bug.
Nice.
The #4 movie of the year is The Odd Couple. This guy's neat. This guy's messy.
Right. Right.
#5, Bullet.
Okay.
It was #5 with a bullet. And #6, Romeo and Juliet. Just straight up Romeo and Juliet. #7, Oliver! !
Right.
Please, sir. So it's not back then we were primed. I'm ready for this shit. But 2001: A Space Odyssey is a mainstream hit that just flat out starts with 20 minutes of monkeys.
Yeah, true. It's exact, and you're right on the time. Did you check that time?
No, I'm just going off memory.
You're absolutely correct. It's the 20-minute mark exactly.
Ooh, I
That's
fucking
no
nailed
accident.
it. All right.
Yeah. Also, I think it's one of the reasons it's my favorite movie of all time, and I might consider the greatest, is because this thing comes out, and I mean, nothing like this shit's been done ever prior, and I think not that people knew that, but I think at the time it was probably like, whoa, you got to see this thing. Probably a lot of word of mouth with this movie, right? Like you can imagine probably people being like, a lot of like how maybe Star Wars was.
Well, yeah, and they recognized that it was hitting like the drug generation, the young kids, and they like reshaped the advertising campaign around that.
Yeah, they certainly did. Yeah. It's the best trip of your life.
I know. So it was a huge hit. Number 8, by the way, Rosemary's Baby. Number 9, Planet of the Apes, and number 10, Night of the Living Dead. So I think also in 1968, maybe we were ready for some genre stuff, which is
Sure.
cool. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to do our list for that year right now?
Yeah, I only have 8.
Oh, that's bullshit. I have honorable mentions.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I'll say that my honorable mentions are Bullet, The Odd Couple, Greetings, and Head.
Oh, that's the Jack Nicholson movie, right?
Well, it's a movie starring the monkeys that Jack Nicholson co-wrote, yes.
Yeah, I don't care about the monkey. Yeah.
That's a fucking great movie if you've never seen it.
I haven't. Yeah, really?
Yeah. Okay, top 10. What do you got? Oh, right. Well, you don't come until 8.
I'm sorry. I was real annoyed, but
How do you not? It's 1968.
I have those. You know me with those weird off years. Like I'll come in 1972. I'll see like 16 movies.
Yeah, but that's
something.
that's the 70s. I would expect you to see a bunch of movies. Like late 60s. I feel like by the late 60s you should have 10 movies.
I think that I do.
This is an embarrassment.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to listen. I would be curious to listen to our episode on You Only Live Twice and on Her Majesty's Secret Service because I don't remember. I wonder if I had 67 and 69, 10 for that. We'll.
Oh, so are we filling in an off year that we haven't done?
We might be. Have we never done 68?
I don't know. Well, whatever. I redid the list anyway.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
All right. My number 10 is The Planet of the Apes. And my number 9 is Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet because I fucking love that movie.
A movie I've always wanted to see.
You've never seen that?
I don't think so.
I think that might be my favorite Shakespeare adaptation. Like straight up Shakespeare, not like reimagining Shakespeare.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. My number 8, and it's a low 8, is Hang 'Em High.
I've never seen that.
You don't have to. Yeah.
Hang 'Em High? What even is it?
Clint Eastwood. It's a Western.
It's one of those,
yeah.
Sure.
It's fine. Yeah.
All right, my number 8 is The Producers.
I never saw it.
Really? What a great movie.
Another one of my Mel Brooks things, but that one I always thought I'd actually like. So
I think you would.
Yeah, I should see it. My number 7 is a movie I bet you didn't see.
What's that?
For some reason, I remember seeing this as a teenager and it affecting me greatly, but Charlie.
Oh, I have seen it, and only because I read the book that it's based on.
Oh, okay.
And so I wanted to see the movie. It's Flowers for Algernon.
Okay.
I had to read that in high school, and so I checked out the movie. And it's got Spider-Man's dad in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
I remember liking it very much. It was a very long time
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's not on my list, but it's good.
No.
My number 7 is a movie I saw on Henry Papali's recommendation, and that is If.
Oh, all right. Cool.
Yeah. I think maybe you and Casey were talking that up, and I checked it out.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I was in a big Malcolm McDowell phase in my 18, 19 years of age.
And yet,
Spurred by A Clockwork
you
Orange.
still skipped out on Home Alone 5, The Holiday Heist.
I had been past the phase, and
guess.
so had he.
Yeah. All right.
My number 6 is Bullet.
Okay, my number 6 is The Night of the Living Dead. George Romero's original.
Ooh, a little low. All right. My number 5, a movie I got to see on a funny re-release. We won't do heavy hitters here. It's time. Planet of the Apes.
Okay. My number 5 is, of course, Henry, Ingmar Bergman. Yeah, Bergman's Shame. Scummin'. Okay. Scummin', I believe it is in Swedish.
All right.
Yeah.
Love those Swedes, you do.
I do, yeah.
All right. I need to check out Noomi Rapace more, my friend. Okay. Number 4, Rosemary's Baby.
Okay. My number 4 is one of John Cassavetes' best film, probably top 3 for me, and that is Faces.
Now I realize why I haven't seen more movies in 1968.
You need to get on that Bergman train.
Yeah, Bergman, fine. I'll get on that train. I ain't getting on the other guys. That's your number 4?
Yeah.
Number 3, another movie I got to see in a theater on a re-release, Night of the Living Dead.
Okay, my number 3 is Rosemary's Baby.
Okay, flip-flopped. My number 2 movie of 1968 is If.
Okay, Henry, my number 2 movie of 1968 is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay, all right, and that's obviously my number 1 of that year by a.
So does that mean you've never seen my number 1?
That could be entirely possible, unless it's something I missed, which is entirely possible too.
My number 1 movie of 68 is Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, I never saw that. Right? Yeah, I saw that on the year listing, and I realized that nope.
That's crazy. You got to get on that Sergio Leone tip, man.
Right. Well, I've seen the big old trilogy, but
what, Duck, You Sucker?
That's what I meant. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Oscars, Henry.
Oh, fucking hell. Give me a second, all right?
Okay.
Right. Boy, we're going to be talking a lot about the Oscars.
Yeah, it was well, that's true. Yeah, with the Patreon episode and shit. But both of the 2010 was nominated for more Oscars than 2001.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. It's an interesting thing there.
Makes you feel a little bit better about last night.
Oh, here we can listen to the ad together. You want to hear the ad?
I'd love to hear it.
Verizon.
What was the song? Okay. Oh, okay. Not nominated for Best Picture. Stanley Kubrick nominated for Best Director, but I'm so sorry. Carol Reed is the winner for Oliver. Now, his name is Carol. You might think that's a woman, but no, it's 1968. He's a man. The Oscars do not nominate women. Okay. It was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, but no, I'm sorry, Mel Brooks won for The Producers. And how about that art direction? Beautiful, revolutionary art direction in 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I'm sorry, Oliver, just a little bit better.
All right, I had to stop the theme. Oliver beat it for art direction?
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did win 1 Oscar, and that was Best Visual Effects.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay, so that's great stuff. How about let's talk about the American Film Institute.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It is, of course, in the National Film Registry. I always bring that up.
Yes,
Henry, I talked over it a little bit. I'd love to hear it again.
You got it.
yes,
Okay, so in 1998 or whatever, when the AFI first did their best movies of all time list, 2001 was the number 22 best movie of all time. All right?
Sure.
Then, 10 years later, flash forward, AFI, they like this movie a little bit more. It is the number 15 best movie of all time. Yeah. Of course, it is only the number 40 most thrilling movie of all time.
Yeah.
Okay. But how about this? Here's a list we haven't come across much, Henry.
What's that?
It's the number 47 most inspiring film of all time.
Number 47.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. You remember that classic line?
I do.
It's the number 78 best quote.
Out of what, 1,000?
Out of 100, I believe. They do top hundreds.
I want one of our Patreon patrons to find out how to get a member of the American Film Institute on this show.
I would love nothing more.
Yeah. Or the British Film Institute, for that matter.
We've had someone from that show. He did our theme song.
Oh, but I couldn't get him on for a whole episode. I'd love to.
Yeah. Maybe that's for the Patreon.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe we'll get him on. Yeah.
The AFI's number 13 villain of all time is Hal.
Sure.
Okay. And finally, they went with it as the number 1 best science fiction film ever made.
Okay.
All right. You like that?
That works. Sure.
All right. So let's talk about it. 2001, A Space Odyssey. By the way, I could live without the colon in the title.
Do not criticize the master's choice.
It makes it sound like a fucking Hasbro board game.
Hasbro.
Yeah, it's like Guess Who? The Game of Chance or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So it starts off on a black screen, Henry. So now, how'd you watch this movie? You got the Blu-ray or something?
No, I need to get it, and I did watch there's only been, I believe, 2 DVDs of this. There's been the original 1999-2000 widescreen
clamshell.
version. No, widescreen.
No, but yes. it has a little black clicker.
That's what I have, yeah. Yeah. And then they did a 2008 finally Blu-ray rendition. And so I did get to watch it. It's a very good transfer. So I did not. I need to get the Blu-ray, but things have been a little hectic lately. I wasn't able to get out and get it. But I had I'm not sure if it's on the Blu-ray. I had the about, what was it, 3-4 minutes of blackness. Did you have that?
Yeah, I did. Now, I didn't remember that this was a thing. And so I went to get 2001, could not find it streaming. I usually rent my movies from Amazon Prime. Not available for rental on Amazon Prime.
Really?
Now, so it was on iTunes. Now, I can't even remember the last time I rented a movie on iTunes.
Interesting.
And so I wasn't that familiar with the interface, you know.
Sure.
And so I clicked it on, and this fucking opening, whatever, how long is it?
It's like 3 minutes. It's long.
It's 3 minutes of black silence.
Or longer.
And I was like, did I just like waste $4? Like, is this, did I rent nothing?
Right.
I really didn't know. Because I knew that it was working because it said like 2.5 hours or whatever.
Right. The time was moving.
But nothing was coming on. And like I remember this movie really well, so I'm like, I'm primed for monkeys. Bring on the monkeys.
And as many times as I had seen this movie, I had used to own the widescreen VHS copy, and it's just had different permutations, which is very odd for a Stanley Kubrick movie, who supervised the transfers and masters of everything. But I wasn't ready for that either. It was very strange. Because I almost rented it on Google Play. That's my go-to, and it would have been like $3, and that would have, but I don't know what they would have had. But that was jarring. I was ready for the Dawn of Man to sort of
Right, yeah, Dawn of Man, for sure.
come up, but it goes on for a little bit with some sound. There is sound.
I know, but it's
very low.
just sort of rumbling up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
it's like ASMR.
And then we get, I would say possibly some of the greatest opening credits in the history of film. No.
What do they do?
Well, I mean, it starts with the Strauss piece.
Oh, yeah.
And goes with the Also sprach Zarathustra from Nietzsche.
The only thing that would have made it better is if fucking Ric Flair came out.
Right. It's true. If he would have traipsed along a planet in his tights.
Yeah, and done a little woo.
Yeah. A little interesting side note about the recording they used for Zarathustra.
Yeah.
Kubrick, of course, a man of impeccable taste, insisted on using the Herbert von Karajan Vienna Philharmonic version.
We're already doing this.
Yeah, here we go. And this is great, though. I never knew this. Decca, the record company, did not want to tarnish their classical snobbery by lending their recording to a movie. So they said you can use the recording, but you cannot credit anyone on it afterwards. So at the end of the movie, when it says Also sprach, it does not list the conductor or the orchestra. And then Decca realized they completely fucked up and subsequently attempted to release the soundtrack with the correct recording, because the soundtrack lists a totally different orchestra with a totally different conductor, because that's what they had to use on the original release of the soundtrack. So it's not the same recording on the soundtrack that you get on the movie. And if you're still awake,
you still there?
Hey, at least you got to take a piss,
I didn't. I've just been resting my eyes.
Oh, you're such a dick. Oh.
All right, so the Dawn of Man. This is the best part of the movie.
Okay.
I really feel that way. This is my favorite. This is probably my favorite thing Kubrick ever did in his whole career.
Oh, shut up.
I'm not even remotely joking.
All right, explain.
I just think it's such a bold. I like big swings, Henry.
Sure.
And this is a big swing, man. He's just like flopping his dick down on the celluloid with this one. So it's just monkeys antagonizing each other,
right?
And then they discover how to use the fucking shot of him like learning how to use the bone as a weapon, and like in slow motion is the fucking coolest shit ever. Yeah. And then the monolith shows up, which is such an insane sight. This like very clear like like inorganic piece of, it looks like technology in this tribal land. Yeah,
this barren wasteland.
Yeah.
It showed this black obelisk.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
And I know it's like dudes in suits, and they're so well trained and shit. Like, I can watch them sort of like being scared of the monolith forever, like them sort of like putting their hand on it just for a second and pulling it away, and then keeping their hand on it a little bit longer and pulling it away. Just that trepidation of the monkeys to get.
Yeah, it's.
By the way, I keep saying monkeys, and they are apes. I am.
Well, they're like, I mean, I don't know what species that we're at that point. I'm not. My anthropology isn't that up.
Well, they're certainly not like chimpanzees.
No. What I meant was like, we're not quite Cro-Magnons.
No, not quite. To me, in my head, something. I always had it in my head that the monolith represented God, or at least human advancement in some way.
Right.
And so, like in my head, if I was trying to like rationalize the appearance of the monolith, which I try not to do. I like, because to me, if there's a problem with 2010, it's the over explanation.
Of course, obviously,
because the monolith is to me, I don't want it explained. It's like in the Rob Zombie Halloween when they're like, yeah, he had like a horror mom and he killed animals as a kid. That's why he's a serial killer. Yeah. Like, I don't need them to explain the monolith. But in my head, I've always imagined that the cross from ape to Cro-Magnon was achieved directly because of the presence of
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I always really kind of looked at it as either an extraterrestrial placement of an advanced culture.
I never thought of it as extraterrestrial. I always thought something bigger, like an intelligent design kind of a thing.
I never bought. But that would bring into it that it was like God, like you said. I didn't ever think that. But
I think that's because you're a staunch atheist, and so that sort of reading of the movie would hurt your enjoyment of it. Yeah,
could be. And I always thought that all it did was impugn the apes with the knowledge that they had the power to kill. They had to utilize
to specifically kill. That's interesting.
To specifically kill, to dominate, to eat. That's what he's doing. To dominate each other, become tribal, learn how to kill the tapirs with the bones.
By the way, fucking tapirs are so goddamn cute.
They're cute.
I saw some at the Bronx Zoo once.
Yeah.
And they are even cuter in person. But I will say that scene where the one...
I know what you're going to say.
When he kills the fucking tapir.
Oh.
Is goddamn baller. What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say you felt bad for the one quick snippet of when the tapir approaches an ape and the ape like kind of hits him on the head. Like,
that fucking cutaway?
Clearly real.
The editing is so good. Honestly...
not the cutaway. He, like, pushes it away, and it was totally real. Like, the actor, like, hit his head, like, get out of here. And I felt bad for the little tapir, because he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, but it's in the service of art, Henry.
And it's 1968. We're not really worried about animal cruelty yet. We didn't start worrying about that until that show Luck. Right. The cuts are masterful, and obviously probably one of the most famous, what is it called?
The bone turning into the spaceship is the one everyone remembers. But the whole thing is beautifully edited. Not as beautifully edited as Bohemian Rhapsody, but very good.
No. Well, what are we talking? Of course.
Yeah.
Not
nominated for editing.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that got a lot of sound. Got a lot of sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, man. I'm glad you brought attention to the importance of that opening sequence. I don't think that's what a lot of people think about when
that's all I want to focus on. Like once that scene's over, I'm like, okay, when do I get to see the star, baby? Everything in between, I could take or leave. Not really. I love it.
I know.
But honestly, like those are the highlights for me.
Well, it really is amazing, and I think you're right. It was something I thought about the acting and with those apes and the trepidation of touching the monolith, but you bringing it up really, that's very, very true. It's done very, very well. Like, this was really sort of before the days where anyone had the technology to how they do now and study every fucking
Jane Goodall wasn't around yet?
Say again?
Jane Goodall wasn't around at
Sure. But what I mean is like putting fucking green microbes on every ape and then studying their every muscle movement.
Yeah. You mean like fucking Andy Serkis
exactly.
King Kong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like we're in the days where probably they're watching like some footage and reading books about how they move and then just completely like winging it and they just nail it.
It's probably actors from that school of acting where they study movement and mime and clowning and shit like that.
By the way, same year as Planet of the Apes, and
Yeah, and my impulse is to say, and look how much better the apes look,
Right.
but they're going for something different in Planet of the Apes.
They are. I just remember a very funny moment when I did see Planet of the Apes in a screening in like 97. And when there's an open, before they crash on the planet, not a lot of people remember there's a sequence of Charlton Heston manning a spaceship. And everyone in the audience just burst out laughing. And it was one of the funniest things I ever was a witness to, because it just didn't even occur to me that looking through a shot like that through 1997 goggles was just hilarious to people, especially given that it was done in the same year. But we come to the part of the movie where we go into space and we meet some of the, I think, what you might agree with me, some of the classic sort of early Kubrickian style of actors, where you get a very forgettable person to be like Haywood Floyd, and like just kind of very undemonstrative acting going on in that sequence.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think Nicholson being in The Shining is so special, because he does tend to like actors that underplay, with maybe the exception of Kirk Douglas.
But I think that's right. That's a big exception. But I think that stopped because I think right when you start with A Clockwork Orange, he wants
that's a good point. You're right. You're right.
He wants performances from everybody, but up until and including most of 2001, I do not think the two astronauts featured act like that.
Who are these actors?
Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood.
Yeah, he really puts the dull in Dullea.
I don't agree with that. I had never paid that much attention to his performance, but the sequence where
he's pretty good, and he's actually really effective coming back in 2010.
Yes, he is. But when he is saying "open the pod bay," angrier and angrier, like that is terrifying. And one thing on this rewatch, and I hadn't watched the whole movie in
what? You broke up.
I'm sorry. I said I hadn't watched the whole movie in a very long time, and one of the things that jumped out at me was the terrifying aspect of certain parts of it, especially from the Hal sequences onward. But I always thought the movie's kind of like in 4 parts, right? Like you have the dawn of man, and then you have the second part with the mysteriousness of Haywood Floyd's mission trying to get to the moon.
Yeah, that's the most boring part.
Agreed.
And then
you kick into high gear.
Yeah, then there's the Hal section, and then there's you're totally right. There's the Dawn of Man, then there's that section which culminates in them finding the monolith on Mars. No, on the moon.
On the moon.
Yeah, and then there's the Hal shit, and then there's Space Baby.
Yeah, well, like I always start at like when he abandons ship and goes into that fucking crazy acid trip.
No, yeah, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like, to me, that whole sequence is like just of a part. It's just like...
Right, yeah, no,
it's
you're right.
Goddamn insane.
It really is, and it really goes on a long time.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at that. Like, I mean, that's...
Yeah, it reminded me of that fucking 8th episode of the new Twin Peaks. The David Lynch, like, The Dawn of Evil episode. You didn't watch it, did you? But
not the new ones, no.
Yeah, but that's... it reminded me of that a little bit. I mean, not that, like... to me, David Lynch maybe was influenced by this, but...
I think everybody was influenced by Stanley Kubrick, it's safe to say.
Yeah, man, he's like the Velvet Underground. Everybody watched a Kubrick movie, made their own movie.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
so they spend time on the spaceship. He makes a call home to his family. I like that scene a lot.
Kubrick's daughter.
Yeah. Oh, is it? I didn't know that. And so I guess he did use his dick a little bit.
He had 2 daughters. Yeah. One did that awesome behind the scenes filming of The Shining.
Vivian Kubrick.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, they spend a nice time. He hangs out with some Asian people, and then they go eat at the Howard Johnsons on the ship. And
I thought that was hilarious, seeing
it's so funny.
the Howard Johnson, and it wasn't one of them Hilton too. I saw Hilton in
Yep,
the background.
yeah, I think Hilton is sponsoring like the quarters on the ship.
Great. Yeah.
And so, oh, by the way, and in 2001, it's very
You mean
conceivable. No, 2001.
Oh,
I'm saying
okay, sorry, the year,
it's
yes.
Hilton in 2001. This was the height of Paris Hilton mania, Henry.
No, he's a visionary.
Yeah, she might have been aboard the ship.
She very well could have been in the pleasure pod.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's hot. So I love
She was
her.
in the House
I love
of Wax.
her. I saw House of Wax opening weekend, baby.
I did see.
I saw every Paris Hilton movie.
I imagine that to be a completely true statement. Yeah.
It is, man. So many. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Hilton, and then there's all that weird gravity shit where like you have to walk and like it looks like a fucking Emmy. What is it? Escher. MC Escher.
MC Escher. Yes.
Yeah.
I think also the thing that
Master of Ceremonies Escher.
Right. I think it can't be. I won't nerd out. I'll restrain myself and try not to be insufferable. But you need to talk about it. And I want to ask your opinion. Almost that entire Haywood Floyd sequence, besides any parts with dialogue, are done to Strauss, the other Strauss, the Blue Danube.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
How amazing is that? I mean, I don't look, man. I just think that it grabs you because it's hard. I wish I could watch it for the first time, as Leonard Maltin would say.
And the Blue Danube means that something bad is about to happen. That's like a myth, right? That hotels like play
What?
that as an alert. They to like let the staff know like something's wrong. There's a bomb threat or something.
Are you being serious?
Yes.
The Blue Danube?
Yeah.
Why would they play that? Because of its calming nature, so nobody else knows what's going on?
Yeah, maybe. I read this somewhere.
I have never heard that. That's fascinating. Wow. Okay. You're looking it up right now, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm 100% sure about this. I just don't know where I read it.
Yeah, I just think that's just so amazing. That entire sequence, the choices of music, and did you know he originally had somebody to score this, and then just fucking trashed it? And he
Thank
was like,
God, man.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that that's all done with
You don't
no
need
dialogue.
score sometimes. I feel like more people should take this tack. Do a song score or use classical music. I remember like when I saw
A.T. Anderson does it.
Yeah, when I saw There Will Be Blood the first time, Hank.
Yep.
Johnny Greenwood, it's a great score and everything.
Oh, yes.
But then the bit at the very end,
Yep.
I remember after that movie, when that movie was still in theaters, when I saw it the first time, I was like, you know what the fucking best part of the Johnny Greenwood score was? Was that last bit. And like I did research, like, because I think I like had the soundtrack and I was like, why isn't this on the soundtrack?
And we were not friends yet.
No.
You would have just probably asked me.
Yeah, and so do you know what piece I'm talking about?
The Brahms Violin Concerto.
Yeah, and I fucking did not know that.
Yeah, right. I did. But I actually have a quote from Kubrick about this, which I had never read, and I'm going to read it now because you brought it up. He said, however good our best film composers may be, they are not a Beethoven, a Mozart, or a Brahms. Why use music which is less good when there is such a multitude of great orchestral music available from the past and from our own time?
I think that's true. I've actually always admired that about Woody Allen. Like,
me too.
Yeah, just use classical music or like old jazz or shit, whatever.
I mean, it's not to unemploy composers, but there is. I mean, there's a great effect.
I say unemploy them. Let's take their jobs.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Get out of here, Ludwig
Göransson.
Yeah. Okay. So So that part happens. The scene with the monolith on the moon is great. I like that people have like a little bit of trepidation, like the monkeys at first, but then
Very true.
But then we're humans. We just fucking grab the thing.
Well, he touches it, but doesn't he? He pulls away
At first.
Right.
Yeah. I love that scene. By the way, the monolith is just so cool looking.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's brilliant.
So brilliantly mysterious. I here. To me, I like the idea of just raising weird questions. Like here, I'm a big fan of the show Lost.
Yes.
And when people didn't like the answers that they got in like the closing episodes of Lost, like I feel like people turned on that fucking show.
Oh.
And to me, I never turned on it because I didn't necessarily care about the answers. I'm all about, like, I'm totally fine with TV shows or films just like raising weird questions. I don't need to know the answers. I think it's fucking cool enough to just like throw some shit out there.
I think you're absolutely right. When a movie or TV show earns it and it's good enough to do so. Because the flip side of that coin is when something is like you're watching it and you're into it and you're just like, oh, come on. Like this is lazy. Because there's like that real fine edge between, when something thinks it's raising questions and then is just lazy. And then there's something like 2001, which is just so obviously not meant to be deciphered. It's,
Sure, okay, but like, so Kubrick didn't mean to decipher it. Would it disappoint you if Kubrick had no idea what the fuck it was?
No.
Me neither. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of people. Like, people will turn on something if they have some idea that the creators didn't know where they were going with it. And I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, whether I think that's part of it, I mean, I think people forget sometimes when you're making a film or creating some kind of anything, writing a song, sometimes you do something and you don't necessarily have a real reason at the end of it. It's the process of doing it. It's like making a film and then us watching a film are very different. So, I mean, I don't think that it was in Kubrick's mind the entire movie. Like, what does this mean? I better know what this means, at least myself, So,
what if you found out that Kubrick always intended it? Like, the monolith, it's shaped like a phallus, and it's to prove that a man truly is the dominant species on Earth, not woman.
Right. I would applaud him. Yeah.
Would you turn into an incel?
Turn to a what?
No, you won't get it.
An incel?
Yeah.
What is that a reference to?
That's a thing.
Okay.
I don't want to get into incels right now. Google it. So, so the how part is real tense, and like that part works genuinely as like almost a horror movie.
It really, really does.
And then it just goes nuts.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, Hal is a phenomenal character. I mean, the design of that too, with just like the red eye and like the extreme close up of that all the time, like just filling the screen. And
the shot from Hal's perspective of him trying to read their mouths in the other room is so good.
It really is. And I always found it even creepy when he asks Dave Bowman to show him his drawings. And Dave, that's one of the first times I think you see it from Hal's perspective, one of the first times. And Dave shows him the drawings, and Hal's like, closer, please. And he's like, that's Dr. Yosevich, isn't it? It's just like, yes, it is. And then he's like, may I ask you a personal question, Dave?
It's a good voice too, because it is very robotic. It's like the generic idea of, I feel like this is the thing people get wrong when they rip off Hal, where it's like totally emotionless, like, yes, I will do that for you.
Yes.
But Hal has like gradations in his
absolutely
voice. Yeah.
He has
You
more
can
than
hear him get angry at times.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he has more than I remembered. Like it's much less computer-esque than I remember it
Yeah,
being.
it even has like a little bit of an accent on certain words.
Yeah, that's right. And I sometimes I always kind of had in my head that it's not a British voice, but like it's almost teetering on like an English, like a transplant. You know what I mean? Like there's a
Yeah, like a touch of Brit in there.
yeah, it's like a caution before every word, and that's Douglas Rain doing that. And he's just excellent at doing that voice. And yeah, so I mean, basically, how from a plot perspective, Hal does not want to. He is malfunctioning, and or of course, as we're explained to later,
in some way. We don't.
Of course, we're explained it all afterwards.
You mean in 2010? Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
We
that.
We really are. Bob Balaban, of all people, gets a long fucking monologue explaining what was going on with Hal in this movie.
Don't need to know. Like, again, with the mysteries, that's part of the genius of this
By
film.
the way, I'll say that all of the explanations in 2010 are totally plausible and totally acceptable.
They are.
Don't care.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I mean, that's we talk about the monolith and the other great part of this movie. Well, there's many mysteries in the movie, but one of the mysteries is why Hal does this, and leave it alone. Like it's scarier to not know why.
Yes, Rob Zombie, it is.
2 Rob Zombie references.
I'm just saying that's the same.
I love it.
It's the same tactic. I'm telling you.
It is. Yeah.
Freddy is scarier if we don't see his mother raped by 80 maniacs.
10,000 maniacs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want a fucking explanation, you garbage piece of shit.
All right. What? So what do you give this movie?
I think I'm going to go with a hard 5.
Yeah, I will too. Who's your MVP?
Stanley Kubrick.
All right, I'm giving MVP to that one monkey who's very trepidatious about touching the monolith.
You're ridiculous.
I'm dead serious.
This is Stanley Kubrick.
I don't like giving MVP.
Can't do it on this one, my friend. Does different echelon of art here.
I disagree. If I'm looking at the most valuable player on the screen for me, it's that monkey.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, that sentence I just uttered might have been the most pretentious thing I've ever said on this show.
I listen. It's got a lot of competition. Who's your LVP?
Oh, I love it. LVP. I was going to take a cop-out and say nobody, but I'll bring the movie back down to earth. I will give it to Haywood Floyd.
Haywood Floyd. So he's the fella in the second part.
No, he's the the guy who's going to the moon. Yes.
I don't mind that guy.
I don't mind really the robotic acting, but I guess if I'm forced to pick an LVP, I mean, he's pretty boring.
All right, that's your LVP. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll go with Kubrick's daughter.
That's not a bad call.
Listen, we didn't talk much about the ending, but it's just this like crazy fucking nuts sequence that probably would be really cool to watch high.
Yes.
And,
I mean,
fucking when he turns into the Star Baby, that shot of him in the fucking bed as like an old man, and the monolith appears at the foot of the bed. That is so weirdly scary to me.
It really is. And that was another thing on this rewatch while we're wrapping up this film, that whole sequence when he sort of finishes his little space journey and ends up in
his Odyssey, if you will.
His Odyssey. Yeah, no, everyone has a name for it, and I'm forgetting it now. A lot of nerds have named that whole sequence. But anyway, when he ends up in that room,
it doesn't. It has like a title. It comes. It's like the infinite, beyond the infinite.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence in that white room is very terrifying.
Yeah.
And like when he's looking at himself and then he's eating and then drops the glass, breaks the glass, like it's very unnerving. And I think the masterful stroke too is that when he looks at the monolith, it almost in a few seconds goes from being terrifying to, like, for lack of a better word, awe-inspiring.
Sure,
right?
And almost pacifying because it turns into a space baby.
Yeah, the Star Child. The Star Child, yes.
A space baby.
Or Space Baby.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick was like, I want to get a space baby here. Let's get a space baby.
A space baby.
We're going to call it a Star Child. Oh, space baby.
No, we're not. Him is a space baby.
All right, I don't know what's going on right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I have
superhero count.
Huh?
Do you have a superhero count?
I do, and here's a theme from a much less composer but often aped Richard Strauss in his work, John Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
Take his job. So the space baby played the Watcher in Avengers Infinity War.
Oh man, there hasn't been a Watcher yet, has there?
Was there a Watcher in Infinity
No.
War? There fucking should have been.
I agree.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Watcher might be
in the new one.
No, I wonder if maybe the X-Men have the rights to that character because I think he
Really?
debuted in an X-Men comic.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
I want him showing up at Doctor Strange's pad.
That'd be sweet.
No. All right. I only got one superhero count. It's a good one. When Haywood Floyd goes on the trip and they're eating sandwiches and coffee on the way to the moon. Do you recall what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's two scientists he's with. One of them is Dr. Ralph Halverson. And he's played by an actor named Robert Beatty.
Baby?
Robert Space Baby. Yes.
Bobby Baby.
actually, Beatty spelled like Warren Beatty.
Oh.
And this guy had the indignity of being in two movies. One of them as a tanker captain in Superman 3.
Okay.
And another one as the President of the United States in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Superman 4. So he was in Superman 4, and he was also in the prior Superman movie.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I'm speechless after that. I don't know what to say. That's real good stuff.
Nailed it. All right. So that's great stuff. And I wish Mark Pillow was in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh my God! Maybe he's the Star Child.
Oh, Nuclear Man is the space baby.
Yeah, because remember he's born that way in Superman 4, right?
Yeah, he's born this way.
I knew you were going to say that.
He comes out of the sun,
right? And he comes out like as a fetus. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
right?
that.
Am I wrong? Am I thinking right?
You might be conflating that with I don't know.
No, I don't think I am.
No, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Grows into like a full man by the time he gets to Earth.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of in Virtuosity? Russell Crowe comes out of a cocoon.
Academy Award winner Russell Crowe.
That's right. An Academy Award winner, Denzel Washington.
That's right.
All right. 2010, the year we make contact, Henry.
It was the year that we made contact with the Tea Party.
What does that mean? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Peter Hyams missed that one.
What about Peter Hyams?
No, nothing. He missed that prediction about the Tea
sure.
Party.
He missed a lot of predictions, Hank. But Peter Hyams is our new writer and director, by the way.
Yeah.
Fellow Hunter College alum, I will say.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
He's got a couple of good movies to his name.
He's had a very interesting career.
Yeah. I'm going to look right now. I already did this, but I'm going to
I've seen more Peter Hyams movies than Antoine Fuqua movies, I'll tell you that much.
That's funny. Really?
Yeah. So his first big movie, his breakout movie, was Capricorn 1.
Okay.
Which is a pretty solid sci-fi movie. Elliot Gould and James Brolin.
He'd made like 5 movies before that, too.
Yeah, well, he was sort of like getting it together.
Yeah.
But Capricorn 1 was his breakout. After that, he did Hanover Street, which kind of tanked, I think. I didn't see it. That's young Harrison Ford.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. World War II. Why did it have to be World War II?
Hanover Street. Why did it have to be this street?
Then he did Outland with Sean Connery, which some people say is good. I've never seen it.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
Then The Star Chamber with Michael Douglas. I'm
Love
sure you've seen that.
I love it.
I bet you do.
I think the last time we did 1983, if it wasn't on my top 10 list, it was definitely an honorable mention. That's a very cool movie. I had never even heard of it and watched it on TV a few years ago.
That's not a sci-fi movie, is it?
Not at all. It's
The Star Chamber, such a good sci-fi title.
I know. Hal Holbrook. You got your Hal Holbrook in there, man. It's about a panel of judges in a California court who are vigilantes and carry out justice on their own in secret. And Michael Douglas is a lawyer and then a judge who wants to not do that. It's like a smart version of Death Wish.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So then he did 2010, the year we make contact, which we're going to talk about. He followed this up with, a bunch of 80s movies. Running Scared, The Presidio.
Saw it.
Yeah, Narrow Margin.
Saw it. Jeez.
So how are these?
I like The Presidio. It's got a great Sean Connery performance. Totally mediocre movie, but Connery's great. Running Scared is pretty much garbage.
Running Scared is so weird. What was this weird era in Hollywood where we were like, who's going to be a star? Tap dancer Gregory Hines. And you better believe he'll be tap dancing and everything.
I thought you were going to say, who's going to be a believable cop? Billy Crystal.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Narrow Margin, nothing. Gene Hackman thriller,
I'm in.
I don't remember. Yeah, it's no. I think I saw. Oh, stay tuned.
Now I've seen his next 7 movies in a row. After that.
Whoa.
Okay. So
okay, go ahead.
Stay tuned. Obviously, I'm a big fan of John Ritter gets sucked into the television.
Right. Yeah.
And then he started a long, fruitful relationship with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I don't think I ever saw Time Cop.
Time Cop is one of Van Damme's best, Henry, with some of his best splits.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I even watched the TV version of Time Cop that got canceled after like 6 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. So then he did Sudden Death, my favorite Van Damme movie.
Is that right?
Yeah, which is Die Hard in a hockey arena.
I remember Sudden Death because they filmed it when I was in high school in Pittsburgh, and it was a big fucking deal. The whole thing's filmed in
That's right. Yeah,
Pacific
because
Arena.
the Penguins are one of the teams in that game.
There you go.
Followed that up with a totally solid little monster movie called The Relic.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a very, very stupid Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle about the millennium called End of Days.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. You cut out there for a minute, so I heard it. Yeah.
Do you remember the big twist in that movie? It's one of my favorite twists of all time.
At End of Days?
Yeah.
No.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger, he discovers this woman seems to have a connection to Satan.
Right.
And but maybe she's the one person who could defeat Satan. And her name, Henry, is Christine York.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Henry, take a look at that name. Now pull it apart. Pull it apart.
Croy.
Christ in New York. Just add a few letters.
Wasn't that Robin, that actress Robin?
Robin Tunney, of course.
I had a little crush on her. I remember that.
She's totally good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then after that, I liked that movie for like kitsch value, but then he fell off a cliff. He did The Musketeer, which is fucking horrible. Another bad version of The Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I didn't see anything after the end of Days.
A Sound of Thunder, which is a really garbagey horror, not really horror, sci-fi movie. That cost, it was a classic box office bomb, Henry. Cost $80 million to make, and it made $5 million.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, and that killed his career. After that, he did another Michael Douglas vehicle that tanked, and then he went back to the Van Damme well.
Oh my god, that sounds like one of the biggest bombs of all time.
It was massive, yeah.
That sounds like Heaven Can Wait.
I think he tried to there was some sort of thing where he wanted to Alan Smithy himself off of that movie.
Yeah, I fucking bet.
But Peter Hyams shoots his own movies.
Right.
So like he's for some reason like not in either guild or something.
Oh.
So he couldn't do it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, because he's a cinematographer.
He's like Alfonso.
He is. He's exactly like Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah. Same level of talent.
Yeah. So he's our new guy. He makes 2010 the year we make contact. It was released December 7th, 1984. On
Pearl Harbor.
Sure, Pearl Harbor Day.
December 7th, 1941.
Absolutely. On a budget of $28 million. And a box office of $40.4 million. Not really a hit, but
no, not at all.
You know, it's just because it costs a lot of money. It was number 17 at the box office that year, which isn't that bad. But like you'll see, it made it right behind it on the box office rankings is Breakin', which we fucking covered. But that movie costs like $5 to make.
Right. It costs more as much as it is to subscribe to our Patreon.
Right. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Only $5. So Revenge of the Nerds was the one that it beat. It was between Revenge of the Nerds and Breakin'. And also, Henry, contributing to its lackluster box office, you know what movie opened the day that 2010 came out?
Ghostbusters.
Beverly Hills Cop.
That was going to be my second guess. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, sure.
Okay, nominated for a few Oscars.
Okay, we already did that. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. It lost all of them. It was nominated for... It lost... Okay. Best Sound, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, and Best Makeup, all to Amadeus.
I just guessed that. Yes.
A great film. I'm not being ironic. I just know Henry hates it.
Yeah, it's a complete piece of shit.
I love everything about that. And it was also nominated for Best Visual Effects, which is the award 2001 won, but it lost to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
You know what? I think that's very fair.
I think it's totally fair.
Okay, so we're going to be in agreement on that aspect of this movie. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? The special effects in this movie are totally fine with like a few exceptions that look like garbage.
I think there's a lot of exceptions. I was very surprised. I'd only watched this movie once ever and didn't think much of it, but I did not remember the special effects being this bad. I thought they were really bad.
I think they were fine. I didn't think they were really bad.
Yeah.
I thought they looked okay.
Continue.
So no, that's basically all I got for this movie. So Arthur C. Clarke published a sequel to 2001 as a novel in 1982, and the studio fucking snatched it up. They made this movie 2 years later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Peter Hyams. So I guess they were like, we need a space director. How about this guy? He directed the Star Chamber. That's
Yeah.
right.
How awesome would that be if that was how it went?
That's how Hollywood worked back then.
Yeah. Well, what do you got? What do you got, Morty? The Star Chamber was a hit.
Yeah, this is about stars, right?
It's a chamber and stars. Get that Peter Hyatt, the guy with the vagina last name type thing. Yeah, Hyatt.
God, Peter Hyman.
Peter Hyman.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about it. You want to do the 84 list really fast? All right, what's your number 10?
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay, mine's Body Double. Number 9?
Broadway Danny Rose.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 8?
Moscow on the Hudson.
Broadway Danny Rose. Number 7?
Paris, Texas.
This is Spinal Tap. Number 6?
The Killing Fields.
Blood Simple. Heavy Hitters. Number 5?
This is Spinal Tap.
Ghostbusters.
The Natural.
Number 4 is Stranger Than Paradise. Number 3?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Amadeus. Number 2?
Blood Simple.
Paris, Texas. Number 1?
Ghostbusters.
Once Upon a Time in America. Okay.
All
so
right.
2010, the year that we make contact.
A title Dan can't even say without laughing.
It's so bad, man.
Yeah.
I don't even like the tense of it. It should be the year we made contact.
Yeah, it's like right. Yeah, right. It's present tense, man.
Because it sounds like someone like trying to like psych themselves up. All right, it's 2010. This is gonna be the year. This is the year we make contact. Finally,
that would have been better. This is gonna be the year we make contact.
By the way, this movie is very similar to Contact.
You know what? You're right. That never occurred to me. Like that, especially that like latter half.
Yeah, well, what about the opening? It starts with just a dude hanging out with a bunch of satellite dishes.
Oh, that's true. For that, in that way, it's also like Charlie Sheen's The Arrival.
Ooh, what a movie it is.
Better movie than this.
I agree. So it's Roy Scheider, our erstwhile Sheriff Brody. And
Love him,
of course.
MVP.
He's your MVP of this movie?
Fuck yeah.
I don't know about that.
He's great.
He is totally great, you know?
Best part of the movie.
He's got a face like a brick, and he's ready to go. He, it's 2010, so he's got his family. He's got his pet dolphins in the living room because dolphins are now, domesticated in 2010. And he works out in the field. So he apparently was part of the sort of NASA team on the Discovery
He's Haywood
mission.
Floyd.
Is he?
Yes. That's him.
I don't think I realized that.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, I thought he was just playing like this is the guy who was on the ground during all of that.
No. That's him. That's also, I think, one of the reasons why Haywood Floyd is my LVP in the original, because now I'm supposed to believe that guy is morphed into this great actor, Roy Scheider.
Yeah, he shows a lot more emotion now. I don't know. I think I don't like that, but
yeah, well, it's a weak point. They should have just started with new characters.
Yeah, they probably should have.
But you didn't know anyway, so yeah.
No, it didn't bother me until now. But so Scheider, he's working out in the fields. This fat Russian guy shows up and, basically gives them an excuse to go back into the sky. It reminded me of like the in Aliens when they like tried to recruit Ripley.
Basically just like sort of briber, blackmailer, like, yeah.
Or in Jurassic Park 3 when he's like, I'll never go back on Jurassic Park. And they're like, yeah, but how about this? And he's like, all right.
Was that Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic Park 3?
No, I know. Fallen King is your favorite one.
Right.
That was Spooky House.
Right.
With the Ani Stinka dinosaur.
I love those Jurassic Park movies.
Well, one of them's great.
All of it. Yeah, Fallen King.
So anyway, he ends up back in space. So he's on a crew. It's Roy Scheider, John.
Helen Mirren.
I didn't recognize Helen Mirren until halfway through this movie.
She does a Russian accent.
It's so funny because it's the height of the Cold War in 2010.
Yeah,
and the Iron Curtain has not fallen, and these Russians, it's just like a competitive thing, and it's such a fucking stupid subplot in this movie where they keep learning about shit like, by the way, since we've been up in space, the Cold War has really escalated.
Well, it's not. The thing that's so bizarre is that it's not even thinly veiled. Like they say it's Honduras, but essentially we're talking about Panama and Noriega or Nicaragua. Take your pick of Central American countries Reagan fucked.
It doesn't matter. We're specifically putting up a crew of Russians and a crew of Americans in a spaceship together.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but you could have just done that, and then it's really funny that they get some digs in on quite a few. And I caught one line that made me laugh was when he's on that bench in front of the White House.
Oh yeah.
And his friend, who serves no purpose in the movie other than to be the black man in the movie.
Oh, that's right. Wait, is that the president?
No.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Henry, there's a shot later in the movie of the president, and it's that guy.
Yeah, that's not the president. He's not the president. No.
I'm pretty sure he is.
You're 100% wrong.
But they guessed black president in the year 2010. Henry.
They did.
That
they
was
were right about that.
Prediction.
No, because he says I'm supposed to go in there and tell this guy all that. He's going into a meeting with the president, and he calls the president a reactionary who serves real food, unlike his predecessor, Jimmy Carter, who served you grazing, which was a knock against Jimmy Carter because that's what Carter used to do. He was famous for his budget cut luncheons. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I know all this bullshit. Yeah. So it's Reagan.
Okay. So Scheider's in space. And he goes up there. He's the head of the American squad. And you've got Helen Mirren, the head of the Russians. Bob Balaban's up there. He's the top scientist. He's going to reprogram Hal. We get to see him talking to a female version called Sal.
LVP.
Sal's the LVP? That's pretty good, Henry.
Thank you. Candice Bergen. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Nah, not a good voice and a dumb idea, throwaway idea.
Yeah. So who else is up there, Hank?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow's up there. You know, I love that Lithgow. I never saw Lithgow and Roy Scheider in the same room together. These moon-faced freaks.
Wait, you mean Bob Balaban and John Lithgow?
No, Lithgow and Scheider, man.
Scheider's moon-faced?
Of course, man.
He's a crescent moon. Yes.
Yeah.
Lithgow's a full moon.
Yeah, so Lithgow's back. We've covered him before. Talking terms.
And we're going to be covering him. We're going to be covering him again on a bonus soon.
True, he'll be down the road a ways, and so he's on the ship, and he befriends that one Russian guy who dies like halfway through. Then he wears his beret the rest of the movie.
He does, Max. I will say, for the record,
that dude was Spider-Man's landlord in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
That saves me one of the superhero counts I needed to read.
Yeah.
Also, I fucking love. Sometimes I just love the 80s, and I mean every decade does this, but nowadays you almost never see this because there's such a plethora of actors coming in from everywhere. But like you had your stock Russian actors. And because I'm such a fan of Moscow and the Hudson, two of the fucking Russian actors in that movie of the same year are two of the Russian astronauts in this movie.
Makes a lot of sense, man. But they went outside the box. There's that one who's my MVP of the movie.
Oh.
There's that. She's like a punk rock girl in real life.
She's cool. Yeah,
and she has this like weird subplot where I thought maybe Scheider was gonna like cheat on his lady with her.
Yeah,
but it never panned out.
I actually like that sequence when he's holding her.
I loved that.
Cool.
It was kind of my favorite scene in the movie.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Let me just say off the record. I mean, off the record.
Everything is on the record.
Hit mute, Dan. This is for off the record. It's an off the record thought.
Wait. Henry? All right, it's just the two of us now.
Just the two of us? Nobody can hear this part, right?
No.
You'll let me know when you hit it back on, right?
I'll let you know, sure.
Okay. This is not a terrible movie.
No, it's totally fine.
It's a fine one. All right, you can put it back on.
Okay. So anyway, this piece of shit. Let's rip on it some more.
Fuck this movie.
Yeah. So anyway, they're up in space. Listen, I will say that there are long stretches of just boring.
Totally agreed.
Yeah, where just not enough is happening. That giant space propellers going back and forth.
Yeah, I felt like
because some parts of it are sort of like, you know what I talk about with out on the ocean movies, why I find them boring, which is just like, oh, a problem arises, they fix it. Another problem arises.
Yeah,
they fix
true.
It.
It's true.
There's no real escalation.
Right. I think that this movie, the weakest part of this movie is the last, 40 minutes.
I would argue the weakest part of the movie is Bob Balaban's chin.
Does he not have one? Or
it's pretty weak.
Pretty weak.
Yeah.
Well, he's on the same screen.
The last 40 minutes? Because it gets into Explanation City, man.
Not just that, yeah, but it's not just the explanations. It's just, I don't know. It's going for this frenetic, tense tension that I don't think it fully gets. I think it's tense when the Hal part is tense.
You know what sucks? There's they redo.
But the escape is kind of dumb.
The scene where in 2001 where he unplugs Hal and you see him go through with that key and
we didn't even talk about that. Yeah,
he has to undo every little VHS tape individually.
Every memory bank. That's amazing.
And in this one, it's so funny because
so easy.
He presses one for it to come back on, and Hal isn't. He's coming back all weird, slow and
right.
And then he pushes a few more, and it's coming back to normal. And there's they're trying to raise this tension in the scene. Will they get Hal to work? And I'm just sitting there
he's gonna work.
I'm sitting there just well, just do the rest of them. Just open the rest of them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's supposed to be the analogous sequence to 2001, which is amazing when Hal's losing his brain and he's singing Daisy, and in this they keep cross cutting.
It sucks.
They're showing you Balaban doing it and then going out to another.
But it's just it's supposed to be this tense thing where you
have
Balaban there who's this genius scientist, and it's well, he'll figure it out, and then I'm sitting there just going well, just open them all. It'll be fine.
I could have done that.
Yeah.
They wasted oxygen putting this guy in hypersleep and then woke him up to press a few crystals down into the... I mean, come on.
Clearly, he doesn't even need the key that the guy in the first one had. He's just pressing buttons.
Or a spacesuit, for that matter.
Well, no.
Nothing.
Who needs that? We're in space.
He's got glasses.
Yeah. So there's that one shot of where there's 1 million monoliths.
Yeah, see, it lost me on that. I didn't, yeah.
That is silly, man.
It's just over the top.
What is it, just a race of monoliths? Crawling around like roaches? It's like when you pick up a rock and there's a bunch of bugs underneath.
Right. It ceases sort of any sense of wonder, and it's really aiming high for the humanity is all one stuff.
Well, that whole thing happens at the end where, they finally decipher a message from... the monoliths where it's you can't. So there's that admittedly kind of cool looking sequence where Jupiter implodes on itself.
That's neat. It's all right.
And so it's the moon Europa is going to be that's monolith land. That's where all the race of monoliths is going to live.
The new race thing.
And so it's saying you stay away from here. This is Monolithville.
Right.
But you can go anywhere else you want in the galaxy. It's wide open.
Which is pretty generous of these creatures to do that, sure. Yeah.
Which leads me to believe, what's on Europa that's so good?
Well, we know because the sequel to 2010, the year we make contact, is the Europa Report. So we can just go watch the Europa Report and we'll find out exactly what's happening on. That's exactly what I thought when this movie ended. I swear to God.
Yeah, well, they should do that.
Did you see the Europa Report?
Wait, is that a movie?
Yes.
Then why didn't we cover it?
It's not a franchise. It was part of a joke, but it's a real movie. It's excellent.
Wait. Oh, that's not actually okay. No,
it's a great sci-fi
but it has
movie.
nothing to do with this.
No, but it takes place on Europa, so I figure that's what I went to. I was thinking, I'll just go to Europa Report and see what they find when they do go back. Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now. It looks terrible.
It is excellent. You are wrong.
This looks like garbage.
It is not garbage. It is
It's
excellent.
got the dude from District 9 in it. Dan Fogler's in it. I'm out.
Excellent film.
Well, you had fun with that one, Hank.
I already
did. I bet you did. What was that, streaming on Netflix?
No, one of our friends recommended that. That's how I heard about that fucking movie. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. I can't remember who. One of our gang recommended it, and he was right. Yeah,
gang. That's our graffiti tag.
Gang.
Yeah. So this movie, it's sort of a lot of going through the motions, honestly, but it has some really nice looking shots. I think that Peter Hyams is actually a pretty decent cinematographer.
I think he's a good cinematographer too. We come back to it now. I really thought the special effects.
Well, some of them are really bad. Like when it shoots that like warning shot. When like Jupiter shoots that looks so garbagey.
And pretty much anytime they leave the spaceship and there's shots of astronauts.
Oh, well, it's clearly just like math.
My God.
Yeah, it looks like fucking color forms.
You know, Kubrick did this shit with like miniature models and shit, and these guys what are they doing? Let's skimp on the
80s,
special
man.
effects.
They thought this shit was like, this is the wave. This looks great.
Yeah. Boy, they thought wrong.
Yeah. Oh, great stuff.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about in this movie?
Keir Dullea.
Yeah, he shows up, right. So he's sort of representing the monolith, isn't that right?
He's representing exactly whatever you want to believe the monolith
I actually really like that one scene where Keir... Well, I mean, it's kind of annoying because it's basically just Keir Dullea delivering exposition to Roy Scheider.
Well, right.
But I kind of like that he's sort of like changing his age, like just depending on the shot.
It's creepy. It's a cool cut. I mean, it's exactly what Kubrick did.
I know, but it's sort of like, I am all ages.
I believe in America. Yes. It's, watching this movie now was a lot easier for me. I watched this for the first time after several years of resistance. Because I was just like, this is bullshit. I'm not going to ever watch it. So then I watched it. I hated it because I wanted to hate it. And I was a lot younger. And, now you look at it, whatever. Of course, it doesn't compare to the original. It's an unnecessary sequel, but it's a well-made film, for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's just a little boring. You chop 20 minutes out of this baby, and I think it's a totally fine sequel.
I agree. And what's so funny is it's a sci-fi epic, and it's less than 2 hours, and I'd still chop 20 minutes off.
There's just not enough story here.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like the Hal redemption, and you've got the explanation. Because you know what it is? A lot of it is just explanations to shit in search of a story, but like there's no real journey to find the explanations. It's just out there waiting, and like they just have to sort of show up at some point.
And the only one who really gets the part of the explanation is Roy Scheider, and he doesn't share it with anybody after traveling for 2 years and 500 bazillion miles. I'm going to keep this to myself because nobody will believe me. It's like if I was one of those Russian, if I was Helen Mirren on that show, I'd be like, I would like to hear some fucking explanation, please. You can tell me.
Well, I can't trust you, you fucking commie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but, at the end, we all do come together. Because there's that one very badly written so the monolith, I wrote it down. All these words are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together. Use them in peace. And I'm like, the cadence of that is all off, monolith. It's
English is not the monolith's first language, okay? It's probably Sanskrit.
Where's the poetry, monolith?
Yeah.
So that's what goes on, brother.
Well, in the words of Otis Redding, actions speak louder than words, and maybe the monoliths, are fans of Otis Redding.
Okay. So what do you give this movie?
I'm giving it 3.
Me too.
Yeah.
Solid 3.
Thought I'd go into it giving it a 2. I was convinced. And I'm like, nah, it's a 3.
MVP's Punk Girl.
Good call. Mine's Scheider. Like I said before, LVP is Candace as Sal 9000.
LVP. I'm gonna go with.
Please give it to Balaban, please.
I like Balaban.
I know, I like him too.
How about Scheider's wife?
Madeline Smith.
What?
Funny Farms Madeline Smith. You're gonna give.
Wait, no. Who's Zooey Deschanel's mom in this movie?
The fuck are you talking? I don't know.
I looked up the cast.
Oh, really?
And Zooey Deschanel's mom is in this movie.
Really?
Zoe and Emily Deschanel's mom. Mary Jo Deschanel, Bowman's wife. Who's Bowman? Keira D'Elia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I don't want to give it to her. She was actually all right. I don't know, man. Sal's pretty good. I can't beat that.
Thank you. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah, it's clever.
All right. And we come to. I have a 4 count.
I'd love to hear them.
So would I. Here we go.
I hate you. Candice Bergen, by the way, operating under a pseudonym in this movie. Not credited as Candice Bergen. That's why I didn't know.
Was it Mortimer Snerd?
No, it is Olga Malsnerd.
Really?
Yeah.
Malsnerd?
Yeah.
I bet that's a riff on my little joke there for the olds.
It's like, Johnny Depp in Nightmare 7. Oprah something.
I don't know, man. Did you get my Mortimer Snerd joke?
No, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're an old man.
Candice Bergen's dad was a ventriloquist, and Candice Bergen, this is not a joke, actually. I think you'll like this. Candice Bergen grew up thinking that the dummy was her actual brother because the father never took Charlie McCarthy, I believe was the dummy's name. Candice Bergen's childhood was riddled with trauma, and one of them was thinking her brother was a wooden doll.
Man, she was a dumb kid. So what's the superhero count?
I never thought of it like that. I think you're right. Roy Scheider was Frank Castle Sr. in the 2004 The Punisher.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Thankfully, I don't. Helen Mirren, Victoria Winslow in Red.
That's right. And we've covered her now 3 times on the podcast, weirdly.
Have we?
Yeah, because
I know we.
She was in National Treasure, maybe 2.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah,
and she was also, remember, Jason Statham's mom in
holy shit,
Fate of the Furious.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that. We're covering Helen Mirren's best work.
Only her best work.
Only the best. Max, the astronaut who dies, and is Spider-Man's.
Right.
Landlord,
Mr. Ditkovich, which
That's
is
right.
a Steve Ditko reference.
Look at that. Only took me 18 years to figure that out. That's Elia Baskin. And Dana Elkar played another Russian astronaut who doesn't do anything in this movie, but he was in an episode of The Incredible Hulk playing Sheriff Harris. And that's all.
Okay, well, I hope this was an acceptable episode to Mr. Merlis.